Hey guys, what's going on? This is Badfish here with another episode of Gone Gaming. I hope you're all doing well. We are back in Cities Skylines today in the city of Fitchburg, which is my Let's Play town, but we're not going to be doing a Let's Play today. We are going to be doing a tutorial of sorts on how to detail your commercial spaces. I wanted to do this because I know the game can really just kind of plop down commercial willy-nilly, doesn't look very uniform or very unique, so I wanted to go through my process on making commercial spaces look unique. So we're going to take this little cutout here, go step by step through my process of how I detail things. We'll have a couple live plays along the way to go over each step and what we added, but I hope you guys enjoy. I hope it gives you some good information that you can use in your builds, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the first time lapse. So to start out with, guys, I did just remove all the buildings that were in there, and then now I'm going to start plopping down some different growables, commercial growables that I want to utilize. So I am using 3 mods to do all this detailing. That's going to be Move It, Find It, and Prop and Tree Anarchy. Move It allows you to do what you're seeing on screen right now, where you just move and twist and turn buildings and put them anywhere you want. Find It is that screen on the bottom right now that allows you to type in different things as far as props and buildings and find the actual assets to put down. And then Prop and Tree Anarchy we're going to use a little bit later on. Basically that just allows me to put props inside the blueprints of these buildings and do a lot more detailing that way. But that's just the first step here, is putting down the building so you have those landmarks to work off of. I'll talk a little bit more of that in the live play, and then in the next ones we'll get some more detailing down. Alright guys, so we got our commercial area down, or at least the buildings that we want. So I think it's important to put the buildings down first so you have the landmarks to work off of. So we got a couple fast food places, a little bank here with a bookstore attached, an enterprise, and a gas station, and then a pizza place right here. So we're going to work off of all of these. The next step that I usually do is just to put down the concrete and surface painter. I just do this just to make it look like one unified place. I will break up this concrete either with planters or with grass, but just to begin with, I do like having it just all the way filled out just to have a base to work off of. So we're going to jump into another time lapse here in just a moment, and that time lapse we are going to start some of the kind of ground level detailing and work our way up from there. So if you've watched any of my videos before, I talk a lot about the concept of working from the ground up when it comes from detailing. I think it just helps me break up the details I'm trying to put in. And I also typically try to go building by building, but where this is kind of one cohesive space, I kind of did it all together. Definitely in downtown areas though, going building by building is a great way to go. But like I said, working from the ground up. So you start with your floor, your surface, and then you put your decals down just to have everything kind of built out around that. I think the decals and everything, it allows you to kind of hedge in and box in things. If you saw my last San Pedro episode where I did the office park, I used planters a lot to kind of edge in things and kind of delineate where my corners are going to be and my edges and things like that to make things look clean. But I think working from the ground up is really important just because it allows you to break things up. And if you start putting props down in one area but you haven't done props in another area, and then you're trying to put decals down in one area while you've already fully detailed another, it just doesn't help you see the full picture of what you're building, at least in my opinion. So I just added down that concrete, put in some parking lots. Now I'm just kind of messing it up, adding decals to make it look a little worn and weathered. I try to keep the decals to a minimum and use them mostly around high traffic areas. There's a reason for that, which I'll go to in the live play, but that's just gonna about do it for step 1, guys. We'll jump into that live play in just a sec. Cool, so that was our second step there, guys, and that was again just putting down our very surface level details. So we added in some different parking lots just to make it look a little bit more realistic for the amount of business these places might be getting. I know that in my experience the vanilla parking lots are a little bit too small, and we did just add down some of these different decals. I can even put a couple in this parking lot. So we did add some different details just to add some wear and tear to the concrete so it's not just this big gray patch. So as far as that goes, I probably said this in the time lapse as well, but I did just try to keep the damage localized to buildings and high use areas just to make it a little bit more realistic. You still want to leave some gray in there, and so your frame rate doesn't crash. You don't want to use 1,000 decals. So our second step here, well, actually, I guess our third step, since placing the buildings was first. So our third step here is going to be just adding props and doing general detailing. I will try to talk through my process as best as I can, and the next time we jump into a live play, we should have a finished product. Alright guys, so to start out, I did take some of these pine trees that the map creator had utilized and then added some of my own just to make a neat little green space in the middle of this kind of sea of concrete I've created over here. I think it helps, putting in green spaces. Don't be afraid to do that throughout your city. Don't be afraid to break things up. I mean, if you look at, normal cities, this is like a low density commercial, so I'm thinking this is more in like a suburban town kind of deal. But if you look at that, there's still trees around, there's still things breaking up the concrete. It's never just gigantic slabs. Even in downtowns, there's still planters and things to break up those slabs. So don't be afraid to add green space. That's a huge detailing tip. It takes up a lot of space too, so it makes up for a lot of detail. So you don't have to do as much as the finer stuff, and it does look nice. And then fencing things in is also just huge. So I tried to use a fence that really popped out against these dark trees just to add a little bit more of a juxtaposition in your eyes when you view it. But fences are great everywhere. They're really versatile props. You can use them residential, you can use them downtown, depending on the kind of fences you have, and really just kind of delineate what the lots look like in residential, or delineate these green spaces and things like that and make it look a little bit more manicured. And then now I am going to go through and start deleting some of the shrubbery that's bleeding through. I end up deleting a lot more than I meant to, and some of the fences and some of the trees. I left this in because I think it's actually a really good lesson for anyone who's looking into how to detail in City Skylines. You're gonna mess up, and sometimes it's going to make you better. So I actually liked that I deleted a bunch of the stuff I put down. I think I made it too overgrown in the beginning, and it kind of sparsed it up a little bit, and it looks a lot more believable. So I left it the way it was, and that was all by mistake. And then I will paint the concrete in. You won't really notice it because of that undergrowth that I added. So that's another trick there, is just to put undergrowth in your green spaces, so that way if you have to paint concrete to it and make the illusion of that straight edge, it doesn't, the bleed through doesn't affect you too much. And then now we are just going to go ahead and add in the car parking lot for this enterprise. I love doing this. I think this is another great way to kind of cheat on detailing. You can add these big lots of cars and things, and that's what it looks like in real life, and that is detailed, of having the lots there. I put some lights in the middle. But again, it just helps without having to add a ton of little baby details to make things look really good. And then just adding some planters on the end here, just to add a little more intrigue to the space. So any of the assets you see me using, by the way, guys, I use pretty much like the popular assets on the Steam Workshop. I do have a couple specialized ones for San Pedro in general. That's my realistic City Skylines run through I'm doing. So I do get some specific props for that. But a lot of these, any of the commercial buildings, if you just scroll through the first few pages of most popular, you'll find them. The planters, type in planters, it should be like the first hit under most popular. So, my assets are not hard to find. I can definitely add some of them in here if you would like as well. And then now just adding in some lighting, because commercial spaces are typically well lit, certainly in the parking lots. And you can see here I put down that third one, and I was like, oh, maybe another parking space would look good there. So I just popped it in. So I think it is really important to work building by building when you are detailing, because you want to detail that one space as much as possible, like I did with that enterprise. But the other thing is, like I did with the lighting, if you have something that you're going to spread throughout the space, it's okay to jump away from building and add things in as you go as well, because sometimes you might get ideas as you're detailing one building, be like, oh, that looked really good at this other building. Go ahead and pop that in. But as a general rule, try to work building from building in your process. And then now, again, these planters, super versatile. I'm trying to use them in different ways to make them more interesting. I like using them to delineate some of these like drive-through lines and things like that, rather than just using a line in the gravel. I think it looks a lot nicer. It adds a little bit more green to the space and a little bit more manicure, especially with like these banks. Maybe it's a really nice bank. They want to have, these nice planters and bushes and things to, up the experience of their customers. And then right here, this was like a really blank area. So I was like, you know what, why not add a little bit more of a green space there, since we already have that overgrowth in the middle. Maybe there's some over here as well. Again, this is just to kind of keep things broken up. You don't want to just have like a big patch of concrete for no reason. You know, I could have put another parking lot there, but I already put a bunch of parking lots in, so I thought maybe we could try something a little bit different and, you know, add a little bit more green. So again, just allowing yourself to be creative, allowing yourself to try different things and not get, you know, bogged down too much in the nitty-gritty details. A big secret of mine is I try to focus on larger landmarks within each space I'm detailing that will catch your eye, and then, you know, adding those little details as extras, but, you know, you don't need to put in a ton of them if you have those bigger, you know, green spaces and things that'll catch your eye when you're looking at it, because half the time you aren't going to be scrolled in this far. And then now I'm just adding cars to my static parking lots. I just use the static parking lots so they don't get overwhelmed with cars, and sometimes the cars can kind of clip through things. And then finally just adding some little congregation spaces, some benches, maybe the Enterprise for when people are waiting for their rentals to get in or whatever, they have that there. And then just, you know, trash and things like that, just trying to add a little more realism, a little more nitty gritty. Not all your details are going to be beautiful, but we're going to jump into that live play, guys, to look at the final product. I hope you enjoyed. Alright guys, well that is going to do it for this build. So I just wanted to give you some ideas of how to detail your commercial spaces and go a little bit through, you know, what I do when I detail. I hope I gave you some good ideas. I definitely like the way this turned out. I like having that green space in the middle. I think it looks nice even zoomed out. You can tell it's a more manicured place than the rest of, you know, just the vanilla kind of plop down housing and commercial. So I think it looks really nice. As far as, you know, what else you can do, you know, this is by no means a finished product. You can definitely add other things to this. You know, you could put more parking back here, over here even, you know, maybe put some planters to edge this in better. So there's always more detail you can add. Sometimes though, you know, you don't want to overdo it, especially because you're going to have a ton of little commercial spaces. So just doing some, you know, easy detailing like that can really add a big difference. I think this looks a lot better, but, you know, let me know down below what you guys do for detailing when you're doing commercial. I love getting new ideas from people, hearing what people have to say, and definitely let me know what you thought of my process and give me some feedback. But here, I'll flip it to nighttime real quick just so we can see what this looks like at night for you guys. So let me just time of day, there we go. So here's that little park at nighttime. I kept it pretty well lit, especially around the parking, and I liked having these little like spotlights for the, you know, little show yard for Enterprise. But overall, yeah, I think it turned out really, really good. I like the way it looks. I hope you guys too. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into a bit of a cinematic here just so we can see kind of this in frame a little bit more. But, you know, let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like. I really appreciate that. And if you want to see some more city skylines and some more detailing, definitely check out my channel. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video. I'll leave a link to my channel in the end screen. Check it out if you want to see some more City Skylines. Have a good one.